Welcome back to Stationeers, and it's time to sort out some of your feedback on this furnace. Got quite a few people saying certain things that I'd already covered in the last episode, but I did get some other good feedback, so let's just quickly look at it. Furnace is at 0. Input analyzer I've put back. I've got one over there, remember, just to deal with our return system, which is still... this is only like a few in-game minutes after the last... Oh, well, in-game minutes, yeah, after the last episode. It's still at 400 degrees or so. We've got a furnace at 0, we've got an input analyzer at 0, we've got an output analyzer at 0. People are pretty much saying that the furnace data is essentially the same as the output data. So if we're going to lose any, we want to lose the output. The input may be separate. So first of all, let's take a look at the input to all of this. The input is here. Temperature is around freezing, and we've got a few hundred moles. Okay, so let's brute force this and see whether we can get it working. Conditions furnace pressure is equal to 0, fine. But let's actually add some more. That's moved me up to state 1. Really wish they would fix this thing where it wouldn't stop going all the way up to the top again. So now we can add 2 more conditions. So we can just brute force it. We can say the input analyzer pressure is equal to 0. Interesting that that actually isn't ticked to say that's true. And we can also say output analyzer pressure is equal to 0. So only when all 3 conditions evaluate, it should actually, work. So let's give that a try, shall we? And let's see if we get any auto combustion. The other option is that, of course, this temperature is falling slowly. So if it is auto combustion and not some bug with these, then we can just put radiators. That's another good thing. We had a commenter called Todd Riley saying, have you thought about putting radiators on the input pipe? Yep, we certainly could put radiators out here on this pipe coming down. That would keep jetpack low. Let's actually just go and swap that back over. Is that back up to 8,000 now? It is, good. So we can just swap that over. And, whoops, that's my mini Space Dwarf third-person mode. Let's get this going. So let's give it a go. Press push the button, and it should fill to 100. Now, of course, that's going to take a little while, and I don't need to actually monitor it, because if I turn around and that's glowing red, we know it's failed. And it doesn't much matter when it fails, because at the moment it should be checking for pretty much everything. In fact, checking whether these are all 0. How do I explain this? So what I did before the episode started was I emptied it completely by leaving the valve on. Completely empty. So this is the first run, it shouldn't auto combust. This is a good way to test whether it's the combustion. If that doesn't happen, we need to push the button again, and then we'll see whether there is some weird remnant, whether it's the temperature of the furnace itself or something like that, that when the gases are flowing in at a certain pressure, they're auto-combusting. And I'm not sure there's any real way we can actually deal with that other than letting the furnace really, really cool down, which would be a shame. We'll let that actually go. So 43 already. Remember, it it combusted at 60 last time. So, and as again, the temperature is still around 0 degrees as far as that's concerned. So that should be proven shortly. I don't have any iron to process, so that this first load will be a bit of a waste. But let's just head in here and let's see if these wall coolers are actually doing their job while that pressurizes and hopefully doesn't combust. We're at 30 degrees, so yeah. The pipe network, however, with mostly just pollutant in it, is 120 degrees, but that's fine. That will get bled off by the radiators up there. Yeah, 30 degrees will work fine. And what is actually going to bring us down to 298, so it's like 25 degrees, and that will still go. So that is doing perfectly well. Someone did mention, by the way, because I hadn't removed the O2 and replaced it with CO2, and that CO2 is at like minus... ooh, actually. What? Why is that? Oh, No, why is that mixed? That shouldn't be mixed. I'll go and diagnose that in a bit. But by replacing it with low temperature CO2, that was already having an effect on the room by dropping the temperature anyway, which is why one wall cooler would have been doing the job. In our case, yeah, 2 should cover it, even when we're not replacing the atmosphere, hopefully. Alright, is our furnace glowing like the sun over there already? It isn't. So that is a good sign that it's nothing to do with the radiators. Yeah, there we go. You see, -3. And our temperature, let's just see what this is showing on here. So 271, 270. So slightly higher on the input, but that's no real problem. Input pressure is both the same. And now that should have triggered this third state. Furnace pressure is greater than 100. Let's just change that to 99, shall we? Because I've got a feeling the... there we go. I've got a feeling I set this to 100, yes. It would never cancel if it was almost exactly the same. So it would have gone up and around. And let's just go back up to the top. Cool. So now it's pretty much waiting for the button to be pushed. And it's primed. This is perfect. It means that we've tested that if this is entirely empty, it won't auto-combust. So it's got to be something to do with our sensing of there being 0 pressure or some kind of temperature issue. It's not to do with anything if I do it manually. So why don't we... No, I don't have anything to actually... Well, why not? Let's just go. Up it goes. 2,600 kPa, 2,400 temperature. That's pretty much a nice perfect mix. And we've got oxygen, carbon dioxide, volatiles and pollutant, as you might expect. And this input analyzer, interestingly, is only showing oxygen and volatiles. So there's some kind of one-way valve in between the sort of on the input side, I think. Although, yeah, it must be some kind of one-way valve. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't actually make sense. Because wouldn't it continually feed into here if that was the case? I don't quite like that. But if it works, I'm willing to live without it. Well, I'm willing to live with it, I should say. Push the button. Let's flush the system. So out it goes. Yeah, you're going to drop off. And hopefully the temperature will as well. And then we'll see if it actually kicks into gear again. Remember, we're checking for all 3 pressures being 0, which should happen if before we actually kick off the next stage, which should happen quite naturally. So if I come back and that's again bright like the sun, we'll know it fails. In the meantime, however, what was I going to do? I think I was going to just investigate cladding to get up there. Let's take a quick look at that. And I'm just ejecting everything out of here. We don't need the electrum anymore until we need another analyzer anyway. We want iron, 140. We're going to have more than enough with that. We can make kit cladding with 1 iron per piece. Ooh, and that's actually quite nice. I wonder if that's going to be... That's probably going to be paintable, I would have thought. Let's just... there's only one colour we can actually paint that on Mars. It has to be white, clearly. It's the NASA way. Can we actually build this... adding angle cladding? So I think what we're going to need then is... Yeah, it's not going to be airtight, but that's not a problem. We're going to need to take this down, aren't we? Find the right tool for the job. Nope. Nope. Yeah. Okay, and we've got 8,000... 8,000 of my kPa in my jetpack. It would be nice if I didn't sink into this stuff. Okay, let's give that a go. Oh, off it goes. And let's just switch this back in again. Now, we can just reuse the steel frames, that's no problem. Let's see how well the cladding works. Okay, so angle cladding. That's quite nice. I do like that. Very much, in fact. The orange may be a bit... It may blend in a little bit too much into the Martian atmosphere. So maybe not, but we can also use that. Maybe do the shallower ramp or maybe stairs. Yes, stairs. I don't want it. The stairs are actually much more expensive than this cladding, unfortunately. So it's a kind of a nice thing to do. Can I switch you? Will you let me create? Oh, there's 14 different options. Oh, there is long angled. Okay, so yeah, we can get a nice long ramp. Rounded corner, cylindrical panel, spherical corner. I just want to actually. Can we put spherical cap panel? Can we rotate that down? Panel. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Some sort of roof block that we can actually probably paint later, and you can probably do that in stacks like anything else. But I quite like this kind of idea. Yeah, looks pretty good, and we've got enough to get up here when we need to, of course. What are you actually up to now? Interesting. Okay, so we got plenty of that available. No problem otherwise. And let's head down. Have you ignited? No. Are you fixed? Please tell me you're fixed. No, you're not fixed. Why are you at 0 but high temperature? You're not at 0 yet. Yeah, you've still got a few moles left. It's nearly ready to actually be tested. It's just pulling the last few section of moles out, so that won't be very long at all. Probably another 30 seconds or so, and we'll be ready to go. So with a cladding and a roof, do let me know what you think about that, by the way. I think it's quite nice. It'd be nice with some textures maybe, but we can use probably Space Engineers like various blocks now to actually create the outside. But yes, do remember they are not airtight. Not that I particularly need airtightness for a furnace room, but if you want to put it on top of something like this, yes, please don't build this wall out of cladding. If you want things to stay in there anyway. And I need to take this down, don't I? But I'll leave that till another time. Right, onward. Let's see. Are you now ready? Let's just see if you're empty. Oh, it's just cutting out the last few moles, and that needs to go to the output as well. What's the inside of the furnace like? The furnace is filling, so it must have succeeded. So, just for the record, that's world. We want the input pipe, don't we? In fact, we'll be able to see it on the analyzer. Only the input gas is there. There's nothing in there that should combust. Output, same thing. Furnace, same thing. Okay, just for the record, everything is filling perfectly fine, and it's pretty similar temperatures, minus 0.8 degrees C. And similar temperature of the furnace itself, Celsius, essentially room temperature. So that should not combust. Just for the record. Quick, nobody move. It's working. It's stable. That's amazing. So, thanks to David Pierce, thanks to Art1985, Todd Riley, Jeremiah Strazewski, and I'm really sorry, I will try this one, but I will pronounce it wrong. Eric Solowiej, Solowieej. I'm really sorry if I butchered your name. I probably did, very much so. And yes, and all of you, thankfully, thanks for all the feedback. It's quite working quite nicely now. So yeah, please do check at least the input. And just for safety, check the output and the furnace, and that's nice and straightforward. If you really wanted to belt and braces it, also check the temperatures and make sure they're all 0 as well. So only when everything is meaningless, i.e. it's completely emptied everything as far as you're able to detect, do we actually open up to reprime it. So we now have a working furnace setup. That means we can get on with other things, which is good. I did want to just check, are conveyors actually in the game? I was just wondering if I can find them. Are they in the game, or are they just... In fact, let's just check in a place that... which should have them, if anything else. What we can actually do, hopefully, is have a conveyor running through here and ductwork. So let's just quickly check. Let me see if I can find them in here. Yep, they're in there. Unfortunately, I'm almost out of copper. I'm going to need to go and do another mining session. However, we will have enough for one. That's not enough copper. However, we do have something that maybe someone's been watching. Someone's been watching Factorio. Or not that I have a series here that could do that or anything, but. Yeah, this is, let's just turn it this way. So we have a conveyor and we can hook this up. It's a, I do like that. That's wonderful. We didn't have these, I don't think, when I last played, so that's fine on season 1. And we can obviously make different sections of this. Of course, we've got to hook up each one to power, unfortunately. But otherwise, when stuff drops out here, we can control them with conveyor belts and just send them that way into some sort of container or some kind of area for that kind of thing. Remember, the only thing coming out of here is going to be ingots. The only exception I can think there is that this doesn't have any sides on it, and that's quite odd because most ingots are flat-sided, which is fine. They'll just drop down and not move. But the alloys are all round-sided, so if they drop down and roll off, maybe it's got some kind of magic, let's just say that they're all magnetic chucks or something like that. They'll just hold them in place. And let's just see if, can you, once I find the right tool, do you have different modes? Can I grab you and, yeah, so we got a riser, a corner, a straight long piece, and a straight short. I think we want straight long, don't we? That will be cool. There's only 5 different options. That's much better. Yeah, less connections needed and still the same in terms of that. So we just have that turned on and we can just supply a power line around here and have multiple furnaces dropping onto that. Now, later on, what we might want to do is to make sure we never get any alloys when we don't want them. What we may have to do is set up separate furnaces to have different options for each one. So, for example, iron can go into this one, but we can't supply iron and anything it can alloy with into this one, unless we explicitly want an alloy. So, if iron and copper, I don't think they can alloy together. I want to say not. Yeah, I want to say not. So we could put iron and copper into here, and of course iron and copper are the most common anyway, so you're going to get those used. You've got to be careful about copper and other things, mind you, but yeah, and things like silver and gold together and stuff like that. But you can design a set of furnaces, and then over the top of those, we can also build, are they just called ducts? I always think of them as ducts, but let's just see if they're in here. In fact, it'll probably be easier to see on this machine because it's got a smaller number of recipes. Let's just see if the ductwork's in here and if we've got anything for those. Also the stackers and stuff like that. So, can I find you? Of course, they're chutes, not ducts. Pretty much the same thing. Yeah, just ductwork with another fancy name. And that just needs iron, so we can just pull that open. Oh, it actually made 2 because I had 4 copper, I think. It just made 1 before I noticed. So then we can just make some ductwork as well. Shoots. My mistake. Let's just clear that for a second. So yeah, and does this one have multiple options? It does, good. So inlet, window, the inlet and the outlet. The inlet is the one we probably will, actually no, the chute bin's the one we want to input things with. So we can rotate that facing upwards and put it, for example, I don't know, I want to say, I don't particularly want to embed it in the wall, but it seems like that's the only way to get that to work quite nicely. Anyway, whichever case, we can actually just pop in a piece, or we can turn it on, obviously, once it's connected up, and then just pull this handle, and that will go straight into our ore system, which is going to go up, over, and then we'll have to have some kind of sorting going on. We may need more room. I may have to move this wall back 1, because if I remember rightly, the sorters are going to need a bit of room. But in either case, we can sort that out, and it's not terribly technically difficult to do that. but that's for another episode. For now, and you may want to prioritize it if you're on a server with many more players. For me, I can actually get away with one just fine, but I will demonstrate the concept once I've got more ores to play with. I'm going to have to do a mining episode, mining between the episodes. Yep, that works. That's much nicer. Although that is taking a fair amount of paint, which I need to go and build something else. So, yeah, I do much prefer that. If anything, hopefully that is available at distance. Let's just go and have a look quickly over here and make sure that this is something we can see from far away. Hopefully it will. That's reasonable. It's reasonable. Once it's all coated with that, we're going to make sure it stands out against the background of the Martian surface. It might be better if we light it up, maybe. Although lights don't tend to have a good view distance. So, yeah. But painting it white is probably as best as we can actually do. And we can, of course, clad the outside of this structure without any need for airtightness. And our batteries are still working quite nicely. We are filling up. Although it does seem there must be some something going on here that isn't charging these two identically, or rather the power is being pulled from one before being pulled from the other, so they aren't actually balanced very well. Either it's something to do with the charging or it's something to do with discharging, but not quite sure. We may have to look into transformers for those. Unfortunately, transformers making an awful noise. So, you know, you take either way. I did actually mention I just wanted to just check this out. We had some pollution in here, didn't we? You dead again? You are dead. Let's just get another battery. There we go. Yeah, you have more than just carbon dioxide in you. However, oh, it's just backflow. That's fine. Yeah, I'm being silly. It's a passive vent on the inside, remember, not an active one. So some of the atmosphere will go back in. Won't pollute our system because this is one way essentially, so there's no real problems there. We just need to clean that out of our filtration system as part of the regular part of that. So there's a few options we can do. I don't want to put it back through our main filtration like the rest of that return line we built last episode. If we do, essentially the only thing we can put into this room is minus 60 degrees carbon dioxide, which might be a little bit well, minus 38 degrees carbon dioxide, which we'd actually need probably need active heating for, because it will constantly be going through the filtration system and in turn maybe getting problems there. So let's not do that. Let's not make problems for ourselves, as this can actually remain as is for quite a while. We can, however, turn this on and just get more of that wonderful oxygen out of here. Let's just check and see what it's like. That's the pressure going in, and that should be dropping. It is. And O2 should be dropping as well. There's only 4 moles in there, so that's not a huge amount. Yeah, that's fine. We should have our system will turn on the heating if it gets too low anyway, but that will get us some O2 coming out. And finally, I just want to check, is this actually drawing... Did I set up the valve to draw this safely? Set CO2. What about O2? Is that being pulled out? No. Did I just have manual valves up there? Let's go and have a quick look. Yeah, I have a manual valve, don't I? So what we may need to do as well, and is control this oxygen valve. That's not the oxygen, that's the hydrogen valve. But control one of them. It doesn't matter which one for this sake. Maybe once this is below a certain amount, so it'll always make sure it has a minimum amount, and then we'll try and draw from here. That's not quite as safe as sensing this side and opening when this side is too high or something like that, so that we always have, you know, an oxygen tank. But it is certainly nice and simple to do. And I think we always, I don't think I'm ever going to actually have that to be to be running out, really. I can always just do that to myself. So, and I'm not going to use huge amounts of resource. Let's sort that one out, shall we? That should be straightforward to do. Okay, I've placed it down rather than you watch me rewire another one of these setups. It's very similar to the last time. All we're going to be doing is looking at this. Let me just put my screwdriver. Oh, I'm going to need it actually. This is just something I've renamed the fuel tank. Call this a few different things. So this is fuel tank pressure. Compare the tank to minimum value, and then logic writer we don't care about. And this is just the tank refill pressure trigger value, which really should be shorter, but it's fine. So we just need to read this first of all. We just need to read the fuel tank. So we're going to go forward until we find a fuel tank. Remember, everything here is on the sub-network for the smelting, so we don't have the rest of the base to worry about, but it's still a stupid amount anyway. So there we go. So the pressure is in kilopascals that we get out of this, so we can compare it to 500. I'm actually going to need to make one more change. I need to remove you, don't I? Deconstruct that valve. Doesn't matter which one of these I actually do, but I need to replace it with a digital valve, and that is straightforward to do. Yeah, and then just a tiny bit more wiring. I thought I was going to cut out all the wiring, but no, just a little bit more. And you can just put a junction in there. And a corner. Alright, that hopefully is all the wiring now. Okay, so just briefly going back to that, we're going to read in the tank pressure, which we've got now. It's called fuel tank pressure. So we're going to compare the fuel tank pressure. Let's just grab, where's that screwdriver? There we go. Have I got the right? Oh, actually, I need to put one more connection in, don't I? You know what I said? All the wiring? Nearly all the wiring. It's slightly inconvenient up here because of this pipe. We could rework the pipe, but regardless, we can't just have curves underneath the pipe itself for the connections here. Unfortunately, that's how wiring works. You have to go 90 degrees across it, and no other way can you get everything working. All right, so let's take a look now. So now I can select things. So we want the fuel tank pressure. Yep, fuel tank pressure is less than the fuel tank pressure trigger value. So if it is less than it, which it currently is, then we're going to write to the digital valve, and we're going to turn it on. So, I'm going to need to rename that digital valve something, aren't I? Fuel refill valve, maybe something like that. I've got my jetpack on. Fuel refill valve. That will do. Then over here we can just basically tell it to use that. Input is going to be this compare unit, so compare tank to min value. And the output is going to be the fuel refill valve, and we're going to set it to the on state. Okay, so when I turn this on, it should refill the fuel until it hits 500, at which point it's going to shut off. Okay, that valve's on. We can take a look at this with our, there you go, 500, and it's shut off. Good. So we got a refill system, fully automatic, and of course it's all controlled by electronics. We don't need to do it by computers this side. So I think the whole thing is now automated. We should have the reserve left down there, and only a small amount we're keeping over here. When I say small amount, that's still a significant number of moles, but we have the fuel tank ready for the furnaces, and we're not pulling it out of the rest of our storage system. So I do like it this way around as opposed to any other. And down here then, I think I may actually put a battery in here, just for argument's sake. I do actually want to push that button again just to see where it all works. But that's something I will leave. In fact, we got some spare heat, haven't we? Let's just go and put some iron through. So yeah, do leave comments below, as I said before, that about what kind of furnace system we should put in here. If I don't get any comments, I'm just going to put in multiple furnaces, and I'm going to feed them via chute bins through... Oh, just the speed of that is great. I'm going to feed them through for chute bins, through sorters and stackers, onto conveyor belts, and then just dump them into a nice area down here. What we could probably do if we wanted to, not that we need to, but if we wanted to, is just feed them directly into the fabricator. So we turn the fabricator to point 180 degrees from where it is now, feed it into this side, and then have a computer control where we can just request things. Fabricator's slow for some things though, so I don't want to feed everything into it. But that again is perhaps something for opinion. I kind of like having these machines, if I can do, for a lot of the common stuff. So cable coil, pipe, frames, all that kind of idea. I think we want these because they're much, much faster at doing the job. Okay, I think I'll leave it there for this episode. Next episode, I'm probably going to do the full furnace build in one episode. So I'll put in a second furnace at least to demonstrate parallel furnaces, and then maybe a third and a fourth, we'll see. And the chute work and everything else for automating it if I can in one episode, if not then two at the most. But we'll see you next episode for that, hopefully, and hopefully you've enjoyed it. So feel free to like, subscribe, share, etc. And I'll see you next time, and as always guys, thanks for watching.